Hello? Hello? Hi. Hello? Hi. Hi. On? Hello? Hello? Hi. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Is there more seats? There's a couple seats up front if anybody'd like to come on up front. We'll only pick on you a little bit. So thank you for joining us for Demystifying AI in Travel, brought to you by the GBTA Canada Technology Committee. So my fellow members, Joe Novielli and Siko and Kristen Rycoy. I always do that. Okay. Kristen, everybody knows Kristen. Yes, and our fabulous advisor, Birdie. Stand up. This is our session. Thanks for coming. We're going to jump in and again thank BWH Hotels for sponsoring the GBTA Canada Conference app. Make sure you have it. It's only day 2. There's lots of great information in the app. And here is a QR code. If you do not have it, you can download it now. Okay, so we're jumping into the session. So I am starting off by saying our session is aimed at teaching you how to use Gemini Code to assist code faster with AI completion, code generation, and chat in your favorite IDEs. Just kidding. We're here to learn about AI and how to understand the basics of artificial intelligence. We will learn about the trends and how the travel industry is embracing AI. We will hear how AI is being used today and plans for the future from our panel of experts. And we'll arm you with knowledge to have strategic conversations with your internal stakeholders and suppliers. Please meet our panel. So with the help of Kristen, we did a little bit of Googling. So I'm going to start with their official bio and then give a little bit of information. So we have Lisa Amy. She's the Director of Digital Roadmap and Innovation at WestJet. In her role, she focuses on navigating the ever-evolving landscape of digital transformation. Lisa creates digital visions, strategies, and plans to support the organization in leveraging technology that helps people do their work in new, simple, automated ways, freeing people up to do the harder, more strategic work. As cool as that sounds, I understand you're a provincial curling champion.
Yes, I am, and we don't fully have AI in curling yet, so.
Next, we have Daniel Senyard, is the SVP of Digital Transformation at FCM, where he collaborates with multiple customer-facing technology teams and works on AI initiatives within the FCM AI Center of Excellence. Daniel joined FCM in 2022 after Shep, the startup he co-founded, was acquired by FCM. We've also discovered you're South African-born UK citizen that just moved back to Austin, Texas from London. You have 2 daughters, 2 startups, and you paint shoes. Anything we missed?
I just love throwing money away on international moves, apparently.
Next, we have Tim Reardon. Tim has been the area general manager for Central Ontario. He's got more than 25 years of experience in the Starwood and Marriott family. Tim has proven his passion and dedication to the hospitality industry by progressively building his experience at Sheraton Fort Lauderdale Airport Hotel, Sheraton Atlantic City, the Westin Harbour Castle, Sheraton Gateway in Toronto International Airport, and Le Méridien King Edward Hotel in Toronto. So while researching, we read you started your career at Marriott Hotel as a bartender. You've got quite the journey from making Mai Tais to where you are today.
Well, I just say first, when I heard you say you Googled me, my heart stopped a little bit because I thought there was going to be one of those TikTok videos my daughter forced me to do. But I'm glad to know you only got the bartender,
that didn't come up.
which is awesome. So yes, always the life of the party because I still know how to make drinks.
Love it. Perfect. You're invited. And then Mike Duffy, you were Googling you was a bit tougher than our other panelists. So according to our search results, you were born in PEI, May 27th, 1946. You're a former Canadian senator. And in 2012, you were accused by the Canadian Senate Board of improperly claiming primary residence outside of Ottawa in order to claim living expenses for time working in Ottawa while you were actually living in PEI. And you're here to talk about data?
no comment on all of that. That might be a Google fail, and hopefully AI would have been able to help with that.
Ah, perfect, perfect. So seriously, Mike's been working in travel tech for over 20 years in Canada and the US, including time with a TMC and a SaaS company. Mike has held roles ranging from coding to product to sales and marketing. So please meet our panel. I am Lana Day. I have been in the travel industry for 30 years, which I know I started when I was 5. I'm a proud WestJetter for almost 2 years, and I love to volunteer. I'm also a big geek that loves using any apps so I don't have to talk to a person. I also was a provincial curler, but I never got a championship title. And here is our panel. So we created a little bit of an AI timeline to put into perspective where AI has come from and how quickly it's evolved. I'm gonna let Daniel talk about it.
So yeah, I've just kind of put this together to show that there's a lot of hype and discussion around AI, which is exciting, but AI is not new at all. It's been going for a very long time. And Alan Turing, if you've seen The Imitation Game, was kind of the code breaker for the war, and he identified the potential of what he was doing and seeing how computers could go. And so he created what was called the sort of imitation game, or now more commonly referred to as the Turing test, as a way to test a computer's capabilities. And a machine would pass the Turing test if it could convince a human that it was a human. It could fool and imitate. And so all the way back in 1950, the potential for computers to be smart enough to fool humans was identified. There was a chatbot, a natural language processing chatbot, fairly unsophisticated, but in 1966. And it was Eliza, it was like a therapist, and people could chat to that. In 1977, IBM's DeepMind beat the world chess champion. And so you can see here, these use cases are fairly narrow. It's a AI being trained on a specific domain and learning within that. Then Ken Jennings got beaten at Jeopardy by an AI. This is one I had somehow missed, was in 2017, a human robot called Sophia, humanoid robot called Sophia, got citizenship in Saudi Arabia, and then also is the UN's first non-human member, which is kind of fascinating. And then in 2022, so 72 years after the Turing test was kind of created, AI passed that and was able to convince a human. And so now we're starting to look at new ways of measuring this threshold where a computer passes, whether it's intelligence or there's obviously a difference between knowledge and what's the word? I'm totally blanking. Anyway, so humans have sentience and understanding and wisdom versus knowledge, and so they're trying to work out what is the new test, what's the new way to measure when a computer passes that. And so in that same year as 2022 was when OpenAI kind of came out with these large language models, and that's the sort of big evolution now in AI, is this generative AI, where it's creating words and videos and images and such. And that was the fastest growing consumer tech ever, despite having a very hard to pronounce name. Everyone's always getting that wrong. But what they did really was fantastic user interface, very natural. You're typing, everyone understands that. They marketed it incredibly well, raised a lot of money, but that's what's gotten it into the sort of hands and into the awareness of the public. But AI is everywhere. It's in your washing machine, in your fridge. It's all over the place. And then, Sam Altman, who was the founder of OpenAI, was fired earlier this year and then rehired. And I just thought to put that in there because, there's always this assumption that if things go wrong, we'll just turn it off, or we'll just, and this is an example where the board thought something wasn't right, something was not being managed the correct way. And I'm an AI optimist, so I'm saying this just, trying to be objective. But, he got fired. Something wasn't going the way they wanted, and the team revolted. Microsoft said, we'll acquire this, we'll bring it in-house. And then the board said, okay, actually, come back. And so he's back in. And so it does it's important to keep an eye on regulations and controls, because we don't have the same, there's no big red button to turn off Facebook or AI or whatever the case is. And then another interesting thing that's happened this year is Sora was launched, which is creating these amazing videos, animations, look like human actors or animations in seconds. And then there's been some voice ones as well, where they can, with just a few seconds of your voice, can then reproduce that. And OpenAI is actually holding both of these back because of the upcoming elections. They've sort of identified that deep fakes go crazy when you have that sort of power. So it's actually nice to see that for a second they're like, let's just wait until things, at least in the US elections, get over. But a bit of a US-centric way of thinking about things. The rest of the world has lots of elections, but yeah, that's kind of the timeline we want to identify, that AI is very popular and very exciting right now, but it's also not new.
Thank you, Daniel. So if any of you catched it, there's a lot of buzzwords that Daniel just went through, so we're going to break them down. So artificial intelligence, or AI, is technology that enables computers and machines to stimulate human intelligence and problem-solving capabilities. Then we have artificial general intelligence, which refers to the concept of AI systems possessing general intelligence similar to human intelligence, capable of understanding and learning any task that a human can. Next, we have generative AI, which refers to a subset of AI that are specifically designed to generate new content such as images, text, audio, or even videos that's similar to the data that has been trained on. And then augmented intelligence refers to the concept of enhancing human intelligence rather than replacing it entirely with artificial intelligence systems. It involves using AI technologies to augment human capabilities, enabling individuals to make better decisions, solve problems more effectively, and accomplish tasks more efficiently. Does this make sense to everybody? Because you know what? We have more buzzwords. So we've got chatbots. Everybody's heard of chatbots. So AI-powered chatbots utilize machine learning algorithms and natural language processing, NLP techniques, to understand and respond to users' inputs more dynamically. These chatbots can learn from interactions with users and improve their responses over time. Machine learning is a subset of AI focused on developing algorithms and models that allow computers to learn from and make predictions on decisions based on data. It involves training algorithms to recognize patterns in data and make intelligent decisions without being explicitly programmed for each task. And of course, most of you, hopefully, how many ChatGPT users are there? Awesome. Look at that. So state-of-art language generation model that uses transformer architecture trained on vast amounts of text data to understand and generate human-like text based on context provided. So here you are now familiar with all the other buzzwords. We're going to jump in real quick and show an AI-generated video. I would like you to take a moment and pay attention to the details. So keep an eye for many inconsistencies that prove human logic is necessary when using AI.
Want to go on vacation, but you're too busy with work thingies?
One moment. See? That is... You're always going to need humans, for sure.
Introducing Memories by WestJet. Want to go on vacation, but you're too busy with work thingies? Introducing Memories by WestJet. Using the latest in AI technologies, you can take a vacation without taking a vacation. Simply select your destination. Then sit back while Memories gently sneaks into your big old brain. Within seconds, you'll recall water sports, relaxing, beach activities. Don't forget the all-you-can-eat buffet. Yummy. It's a vacation you'll never forget, because you can't. Once these puppies are in there, there's no getting them out. Memories. So relaxing.
So even though it's a WestJet, the whole purpose of this is to
Happy
show...
April Fools from WestJet.
Stop. Whole purpose is to show that AI still needs human interaction, not the hot dogs floating on the water, the distorted images, like all the stuff that you hopefully noticed are just some examples of the inconsistencies in the video that prove that human logic is necessary when using AI. So we're going to start with our panel and start with Lisa from WestJet. So Lisa, we all know WestJet is legendary for friendly people and their human touch. How will you manage to mix the human element with AI technology and not stray too far from the culture of human touch that has made you so successful?
Thanks, Lana. I think a few things have been said, both in the video and even in Daniel's timeline as well. When we look at high technology, or the more innovative technology gets, the more we need high touch. And so I don't see AI or all the different buzzwords that Lana went through being replacing of humans. I think the more influential technology becomes, the more innovative technology becomes, the more the human element becomes more important in controlling that technology. We'll talk a little bit about some security and some data gaps and those kinds of things as it relates to this innovative technology. One of the things, if many of you know Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he wrote back in 2004, even way back then, he already knew that high tech requires high touch. And he talked about, our bodies or technology are great servants to us with all the things that we need or we think we need, but they are not always good masters. And so technology is a good servant, but technology is not always a good master. It doesn't always make the right decisions or the decisions that we actually think we need without that human element. So super important to have that human element. I don't see that going away anytime soon, even though the technology is really evolving at a rapid pace.
Thank you. Daniel, you mentioned in your bio the FCM announcement late last year of a new AI Center of Excellence focused on promoting, adopting, and integrating AI into its corporate division. It sounds fantastic, but what does that mean?
So I like to think of AI as almost like chips or electricity. It's everyone wants to know, like, what's your AI roadmap? And to me, that's like going to Sony and saying, like, what's your electricity roadmap? Like, I think it's going to be part of everything. And so for us, it's working out strategically, if it's not already in place, where does it make sense to prioritize and kind of like help automate things to remove friction and improve customer experiences. And we look at 3 realms. We sort of are looking at internal workflows, what we already do. So how can we help people be more efficient and get rid of some of the drudgery work they actually don't want to do? Because I found that's a really great place to start with automation is like, what do you do every day? What do you hate doing? And that's usually the repetitive, mundane things. And those are usually the best candidates for AI. We then look at our customer-facing products and say, where can we sprinkle some AI magic dust to improve that experience? Or we then look and say, are there brand new things, features, products that this now enables for us to kind of go at? But the team's only been around since November, and so it's a big company. So we're sort of working our way through, talking to customers and doing a mix of customer feedback, team feedback, and then working through that. And we've got a governance board, so it's very intentional and careful. We make sure we're prioritizing and keeping bias out and such. So it's a very structured way of doing things that goes across the company.
Thank you. Tim, can you tell us what the Marriott Hotel is doing today with AI technology? We see a lot of news about hotels using chatbots and sort of virtual assists, as well as AI streamlining to check in the process or improve guest experience. So kind of what's happening at the Marriott Hotel brand?
Yeah, for us, it's 2 things. One is from a customer or guest experience, how do we enhance that experience from the time of booking to the time of departure? And from an internal standpoint, how do we enable our associates to do their jobs more effectively and more efficiently? And so, as there's a lot of questions about what AI means, the one thing that we do know, and I think a lot of you have said this, is we'll always need our associates. So the goal is never to replace. It's how do you enhance that and how do you enable them to do that better? And so for me, it's all about time, right? Time is a very valuable commodity, and how do we make people's time more efficient? And so if you look at today, if you were to check into the Sheraton Center Hotel, which I think is a great idea for everyone, Sheraton Center, you could literally make your reservation. You can check in. You can get your room key. You can get your room assignment. You can go to your room. You can order mobile dining. You can chat with our team members about special requests, pillows, towels, hours of operation, whatever the case may be. You check out and get your folio without ever having to talk to anyone. And so what that's done is it's taken all that transactional stuff and made it that much easier. And then what we do then is we hone in and focus on the experience. And so how are you activating your hotel? What things you're doing for the overall experience for the guest to make it that much more meaningful and give time away from those transactional things that, people most don't want to spend time doing that. We always offer the option if someone wants to come to the front desk, absolutely come down and talk to one of our team members. But from an associate standpoint, a lot of stuff that you don't see is, our room attendants, for example, for when they're cleaning rooms, we prioritize rooms based on arrival, departures, and requests. And so we know if someone needs a king and they're coming at a specific time, our systems do that so we can make that process even more efficient. And then if there's things within the hotel that need to be corrected, defects or whatever, we have a system that it's all automated. And it gets dispatched to whoever it needs to see. So even internally, getting that time back to be even more effective and efficient.
Love it. I walked into one of the hotels, and I walked right by the front desk, and the guy was like, "Can I help you?" And I said, No, I have my digital key. I'm good. And he was like, "But maybe you need an actual key." Like, he was like bored. I think everybody just keeps walking by him. It's the best thing ever, I have to say. I love it. So, Mike, let's talk about AI FOMO. The fear of missing out. Can you speak about that? How can companies overcome the FOMO mindset and approach AI strategically?
Yeah, I think the FOMO piece, and we were talking about it earlier, that may have been slightly diminished in, say, when ChatGPT first came out. I know a lot of companies are saying, what do we do in AI? How do we incorporate AI? There's a lot more questions. And I think, if it's FOMO, fear kind of leads to bad decisions. So I think it may have pivoted a little bit, that there's more enthusiasm around AI. It's more of a marathon than a sprint. It's learning more about AI, living it, day to day, using it personally. And so that way you're kind of building on your own expertise. And I think it's interesting, though, it's kind of pivoted in a way that it's less on FOMO, but it's more on checking off a box. And for instance, the panel I just watched earlier, they described live translation, but they didn't just say just live translation, it was AI live translation. So I think there is a stamp that people want to put onto something, because AI, there's a perceived value prop. Whether or not there is true value there, that's one that I think people have to decide for themselves. And I think over time, that AI stamp may disappear, and we'll all be just expecting everything to be AI, whether it's a product we use or it might be in the background. But I think right now we're still seeing a lot where there's that AI stamp, and it's sort of checking off a box, and we think, oh, great, that's AI. So just something to be mindful of.
That's a really great point. Yes, absolutely.
Just kind of a funny turn of phrase or story. I was on stage with the author of a book called Technology is Not Neutral. I'm blanking on her name, Stephanie someone, but she said that AI is sort of like, excuse me for going a bit blue, but she was like, it's like sex in high school. Everyone thinks everyone else is doing it. Everyone wants to know who's doing it and what they're doing, and then you all assume everyone else is doing it more than you. And so she was like, just calm down, you're all okay. You're like, just, it's okay. We'll all grow into this when the time is right. So, yeah.
That's perfect. That's so good. Oh my gosh. Lisa, we understand that WestJet introduced a chatbot recently in the contact center. Can you tell us about it and the impact it has made?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of different chatbots and augmented intelligence. That's the buzzwords that we just saw the definitions to. So last summer, we decided to try a little bit of technology within our contact center. Not a little bit, a lot of technology. And it was to identify caller intent and guest authentication using a chatbot. And it was very successful. It was a product called Parloa. From out in Europe is the owners of this technology, and it was amazing. Their version of a chatbot actually breathes, can speak any language. It literally sounds like a human, which the lessons learned for us was actually we want to be really careful that we actually don't want it to sound like humans exactly, because that creates a false pretense on what you expect of that chatbot. And so really great lessons learned. We do proofs of concepts to trial and do technical feasibility of different technologies, and that was a great success for us. Now we have to figure out what's our strategy. Again, to Michael's point, what's the strategy and where do we want to actually take this, and what's the roadmap that we want to put this on?
Thank you. Okay, so all of you, we hear a lot of talk about personalization. How is the industry using AI technology to collect customers' behaviors, preferences, and questions and turn that into a personalized experience?
So I think it's interesting because I think there's a lot of, data is amazing with AI. It can not capture, but it can analyze so much data and make sense and make a story from that. There's a lot of information that's also we put online. It's very public, and I know kind of dipping into the sort of privacy issues and all that stuff. But there are things that AI can do I find very interesting. I use a tool that when I'm talking to on sort of sales calls, that sort of thing, that it can go to a LinkedIn profile, which is public information. It can look at the story that you are putting on there, not just your history, and then it can come back and it does this disc analysis like a Myers-Briggs. And so it will give you tools to help you understand how to communicate with the other person, use these keywords, go high level, don't go high level, that sort of thing. So that's kind of, I think it can be, I know I'm seeing some faces here that may be interpreted perhaps negatively, but it is a tool. So for me, it helps me engage in the conversations to be more productive sooner.
Did you try that on me?
No comment.
Just to maybe add to that as well, I think imagine the day as a guest, as a traveler, as the end user of these technologies and these different products. Yeah, I traveled here from Calgary yesterday to be here for the conference, and imagine the day where my parking at the airport is taken care of it because of the flight that I'm on and the time that flight is. My security process and the things that I needed to do is all streamlined and figured out, whether it's biometrics or whatever that looks like. My travel identity is figured out because it knows who I am and it's on my phone and I own that data, and I can actually personalize that as well, all the way through to the hotel I need to get to through my Uber or whatever transportation I take to get there, and then the checking into the hotel, and then I needed to eat. Imagine that whole experience is actually owned by me to a certain extent based on the data and my travel profile and the things that I'm doing, so that in destination I get some help and my experience is a little bit more seamless from start to finish and all the way to going back home. I think that is the eventual goal someday, and I think to Michael's point around data sharing, that's needed across this industry, is that sharing of that guest profile, that guest data owned by me, but shared with all the various service providers so that I can have a seamless experience. I think that would be an amazing result someday.
With personalization, AI is great at collecting, well, not collecting, but analyzing, masses of unstructured data and sort of identifying trends and sort of creating insights out of that. And so we've, up to this point as an industry, mostly relied on reported things, like what I've told you. I like these things. I say I like a pool with a gym, but my shown behavior and my told behavior can be very different. Like, I always say I want a pool with a gym, but I spend all my time in the bar. Like, that's very different. True story. But it's one of those things that the difference between what you actually are doing and showing versus what you're saying and reporting can be a huge difference. And even if the suppliers are catering to you based on what you've said, you actually don't have a great experience because that's not what you actually do in real life. And so that ability to identify all that data, whether it's search, how you search, the bookings you make, how you interact with properties, all that stuff, AI can really help personalize to what you really want, even if you don't know it.
Yeah, I think preferences are very important for us. I mean, it helps us to humanize the experience and get to know you as a person rather than just a transaction when you come to our hotels. And so we get data a variety of different ways. The simplest is we ask you, whether it's through our mobile app or one-on-one. Our team members learn about you. There is some type of, LinkedIn, what do you prefer? For us, though, the important part is then what do you do with that, right? Because if you have the information and you don't execute on it, it becomes quickly something that will be impressive to a dissatisfier. And so the way technology helps us is all of our systems, when it captures this, when you come to our hotel, we know that you like a corner king, you like a certain type of amenity in your rooms, because amenities is a classic thing. Everyone wants to put a cheese plate and a bottle of wine in your room, but is that really what the person is looking for? And if we know that about you, we can set you up for success when you come to stay at our hotels. And so, knowing more about you is very important, and then doing something with it is even more important for us.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I really agree with that personalization. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody ever. I've already said that. So that to me is a dream world if I can like travel and not talk to anybody. Crystal ball time. Where do you see this industry in 5 years? If you had to like forecast for the future, where do you see this? Where do you see us?
I think what I'm interested in seeing, and I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but you look across all industries, and there's always been a lot of middlemen, and I work for a middleman. I work for TMC. But, you sort of look at how you've got something someone wants, whether it's information or a car, a house, a, travel experience, and then you've got so many people in between, and you've had each of them adding different layers of value. And now this sort of like this generative AI era has allowed the connection between the consumer and what they want to be so much more immediate. You'll probably notice now when you go to Google, you ask for something, and it's not just showing you the results to click on pages, it's actually summarizing the pages, so you don't even go into that website. And so that sort of like disintermediation, where you're taking out some of those middlemen, or realizing they have to realize they have to produce or create new value. So the value chain between the buyer and the supplier is going to be very interesting, where there's convergence or redefining what different entities play in the. I'm using a lot of big words here, sorry. But yeah, the sort of like getting from me wanting that and access to that, that path is going to become a lot shorter. And so it's working out where the value is input at different stages along that path.
For a 5-year, I don't know. We set our roadmaps 1 to 2 years ahead, because looking at 5 years, we know it's aspirational, not a reality. And we know the direction it's going to be going, and there'll be AI everywhere. Like I said, it might be somewhere that's quite visible. It might be in the back end. But there also could be hiccups along the way. And so, just thinking about other technologies outside of travel, for instance, self-driving cars. That had been worked on, I think it was like pre-pandemic, and then they stopped it because some issues. Obviously, that's a very sensitive thing because it's transporting people. But, there could be hiccups along the way in AI where the public will say, okay, whoa, we got to put the brakes on this. And so it's really hard to forecast that. What AI is going to be really helpful, but there will be times where there will be failures of AI. How is the public going to react to it? And do we, continue down that path on AI, or do we, slow it down a little bit? Sort of you were saying on the election. So it might be something like that, sort of pumping the brakes and just say, okay, well, we're going to continue to develop, but we may not have it as front-facing, perhaps. So it might be more back-end stuff that happens with AI. So hard to say.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to hotels. I think the FOMO is out there. I have FOMO myself, trying to figure out what to use next. But I think sometimes it's better to do it right than quick, to make sure that we're hitting the right pieces. Having a teenager in the house, it's amazing to watch how fast they adopt the technology, they use it, and it's a part of their everyday life. And I think that's going to, as our travelers, start to get into our industry, that's going to be an expectation. And so I see us adopting more and more of it. What that is right now, I don't think we know. But I think we're going to take the time to figure that out. I do think internally, one of the things that we focus on a lot is sustainability. And when you look at how you conserve energy and all these things, I think AI will play a part in that, because right now it's behavioral and what you're doing to upgrade your systems in your hotels. But AI eventually will take a part of that as well to help us achieve those targets that we're trying to achieve.
Thanks. I think in the airline industry, I think the world's our oyster. I think we, unfortunately, through COVID, had to actually put a pause on many of the things that we were doing. And so we're several years behind, probably even decades behind, actually, from an airline industry perspective, not just WestJet. And so foundationally, there's a lot of things that we need to do. I think this whole sort of mantra around fail fast, try new things, iterate, I think that's a new model and mantra that all organizations need to sort of aspire to and to start trying. I think in Canada, it's super important for us to understand these roadmaps, these visions, these digital opportunities, because how we are connected most of the time we have to get on a plane or we have to drive for 12 hours to get somewhere. And so our connectivity is very, very different in Canada relative to some of the other countries and some of the other continents that have a lot more high-speed trains and connectivity and different transportation and different models and modems to get from one place to another. So I think we have to embrace technology, we have to embrace digital, we have to embrace AI and whatever buzzwords up there. I think we have to try these things. We have to be okay with failure and the fact that not everything is going to work how we thought it would, and figure out, for those of you that saw this morning on the big stage, she talked about having anxiety, how do you control that anxiety so that you actually figure out what the problem is that you want to solve versus staying in that anxiety and letting it fester and take all your energy. How do you actually have that sort of digital mindset to solve the problem and go to the next solution potentially? I think those are some of the things. And my big thing is data sharing. I think that's so critical for us to be able to share the data across the ecosystem in this industry so that we can all benefit from that, and that all includes the guest, includes that end user. I think that's really critical for us.
And one more thing to finalize it all. What is the biggest risk do you see for each of your relative companies in not going ahead with AI?
Yeah, I think you were talking about this sort of deceleration, and I think there is the risk for everyone where you want to go forward, you want to be optimistic, but if you do go back if you hold back too much, your competitors aren't, and so there's always that balancing act of you want to move quickly, you want to be agile, but I think there is always that competitive risk to sort of not keep up with the Joneses essentially. But I do think the risk for us as a TMC is not evolving for all TMCs, because like I said, I really think the role of a TMC is going to evolve with a lot of those middlemen, and I think really being on top of what's happening in the world, what are the trends, for us to continually evolve our value proposition, I think is key. And if we just stay what we are, it becomes very commoditized. So I think that evolution is important.
For us, we're going to continue to test, test, as I think the other panel said as well. And so we want to, look at the results, and does it make sense? Have people look at going through various data elements and making sure that it's going to be beneficial for our clients, and sort of setting up AI for success. And a couple of things that really set up AI for success is adding context to make sure AI understands the problem you're trying to solve, and then lots of quality data. And so we're working on, how do we improve our quality of data? We take in data from a number of different travel sources, and how do we enrich that? How do we tell that story better? How can we tell the story better to AI for it to tell the story back to us? So that's what we're working on and trying to improve that experience.
I think our risk is, from a competitive perspective in that landscape, is if we don't actually manage our costs, and that's through being able to do more with less and to use this technology to actually scale faster. I think that's a huge one for us, and then we become the blockbuster on the end of the street. The other one I think is the key, super important one is human talent acquisition. If we do not keep up with these trends, we will have trouble attracting talent, because this is where our kids, grandkids, et cetera, are growing up in these generations of technology, and we will no longer be an organization where people want to come work. So I think that a big one around talent.
I'm very similar. It's here. It's not going away. And I think more and more hotel companies are going to start to adapt and adopt this into whatever phase of the experience. And if you don't adopt it, you'll be left behind from a competitive standpoint.
Just quickly on, I think that the counter risk though is going too far too fast and not being intentional about it. And we were playing with a let's say a consumer sites chatbot. They've got a chatbot and you can ask it all sorts of things. So we said, we're just testing the capabilities, and we said, how should we book a hotel? And said, I can help you with that. Where would you like to go? And we said, well, we don't really like you. Like, how else could we book a hotel? And it gave us the name of a competitor, of an OTA. And we're like, oh, great. And how would we do it there? And it gave us a step-by-step walkthrough of how to book. You go to this website, here's the URL, you type in your search terms, you get the result, and it really walked us through how to use their competitor. So going too quickly, trying to take the human touch out of it, thinking this is going to be a massive cost saving by just like switching and replacing is a big risk. So you've got to be very intentional about doing it.
Thank you. Some really great points. I'm going to move on to just summarize what some benefits of AI in travel programs would be. So AI presents numerous opportunities to transform travel programs and enhance traveler experiences, ranging from sourcing and contracting to traveler servicing and distribution and booking and traveler preferencing. It helps govern dynamics, introducing flexibility into policy application, allowing for real-time adjustments based on market conditions, corporate objectives. It adapts contracts, sourcing approaches, and overall processes to align with evolving needs. So there are definitely some good points up there that you can take away. And ultimately, there's two takeaways when it comes to AI and business travel. Effective business applications of AI require careful consideration and testing, with adoption depending on corporate culture, traveler culture, and risk tolerance. And as AI continues to evolve, its integration into business travel holds immense potential to revolutionize processes and enhance experiences. It's not about replacing people, it's doing more with less. By navigating opportunities while addressing challenges, organizations can harness the power of AI to drive innovation and efficiency in the travel industry. And I think our panel has definitely acknowledged that as well. Our learning outcomes. You should all have a better understanding of the basic terminology, at least related to AI. You should be able to identify the use case of a value of AI, but also be aware of the hazards. And you'll have the ability to have better strategic conversations with travelers, internal stakeholders, and suppliers. So we're going to open it up. We have 3 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Kristen's coming.
Hello? Oh, okay. Sorry, you knew I had to, at one point, talk.
Hi, I'm just wondering about the how. So I'm a travel manager and I would love to be able to incorporate AI into my program, but I just don't know where to begin.
I'd say with AI, like literally it's a silly answer, but one of the ways I use like ChatGPT is as a thought partner. So if you sit down and you literally ask that question, say, I'm a travel manager, here's what I do, and you say, ask me 10 questions that would help you clarify my role, and how could I introduce AI? What are some quick wins? And see what it says back, and that can help you. And then you can refine and say, next question, like, you said I should do this, how would I go about implementing it? And literally it can tell you how to do that. So it's yeah.
It's also helpful to see what everyone else is doing. Case studies are great to understand like the possibility of what an actual real world, what are others doing with AI. I leverage on that a lot just to see, okay, and even get some other ideas. Maybe someone, they're working on something that's, completely not in my spectrum, but it's super interesting, and maybe it could be pivoted to what I do. So case studies are super helpful.
I was just going to add to that as well. The ecosystem is super important. So reaching out to non-competitors that are in your space that you can get some advice from, those relationships, those partnerships are super key. I also think technology partners, they all want to help all of us get better and evolve. And so use your technology partners as thought partners.
One more question. Anyone? Yeah, over here, Kristen. Okay.
For Michael, you mentioned that sales tool they use, but I didn't hear the name of it.
It's called Crystal Knows, and it is a good tool, and it is a tool. Like it does help engage the conversations. I know I saw a number of the faces and kind of frowns when I mentioned it. It is not. It is actually a very, very helpful tool. Whether you're hiring, looking at talking to candidates, getting to know them better, or if it's on the sales side, or even a partner. You look in your new partner and you want to just have your best. You're more or less starting up the conversation right away. It's very, very helpful. Yeah.
So our resources are listed here, and this deck is going to be available for all GBTA members, so you should be a member. And then thank you again for BWH Hotels for sponsoring the app. And if you have a moment, please take time to, in the app, fill out a survey for our session. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
That was good.
Sorry I threw the risk one at the end, but I really thought it was good to highlight.